It's 10 past 5 in the afternoon in Newcastle, Australia. It is 10 past 6 in the morning in Manchester, England. And this is the only place in the world where the Dragons somehow end up fighting each other as well as the media. And this is also the only place where the one lesson is always has to be taught. Never write off the good saints. Yes, this is the Sideline Chat podcast, the one-stop shop for rugby league. Along with Mark Hendry, I'm Connor Marcellus, and today it is part 4 of our 2023 preview series for the NRL clubs. Final 4 teams. Let's get started with the South Sydney Rabbitohs.
The season last year for them wasn't perfect, but it wasn't. It was on a better. It was up there as a pretty solid season for them. Yes, they had their faults, but they come crashing out of the finals.
Well, new era, not only a new coach in Jason Demetriou, who's finally succeeded Wayne Bennett, but also first year that Adam Reynolds hasn't played since debuting.
True.
And shock loss at Suncorp Stadium sort of had the doubts about South sown in early.
Or was it really a shock loss, though?
Well, yeah, I'd say it was. No Adam Reynolds. For the Broncos, that is. Just
True.
walk up to Suncorp and come away 11-4 victors. I'd say that's a pretty big shock.
True, but if Adam Reynolds was playing, it wouldn't have been a shock whatsoever because Adam Reynolds would have known the Rabbitohs inside out. But yeah, it was a bit of a shock loss, you could say then.
And I would say things did get worse for them when Latrell Mitchell went down in round 5.
Yeah, it wasn't the prettiest for him. They struggled through the rounds that he wasn't playing, but they somehow come back at I can't English today. Somehow come back through and made it deep into finals.
Well, they were practically inside the 8, even without Mitchell. A couple of shocking results. A second loss to the Broncos, a 1-point loss to the Tigers at Combank. But I think the Rabbitohs did fairly well with what was available on hand. They had a good win between round 15 and 20, where they had a whole month of winning to their name. Mm-hmm. But there were some really shocking results in and amongst that all. I'm particularly talking about round 15, the return game against St. George Illawarra. That was the worst I'd ever seen the Rabbitohs play last year, I should say.
Well,
You'd beg to differ.
yes, you've took the words out of my mouth. I do beg to differ. But yeah, that wasn't the best game for South Sydney, and at the time the Dragons weren't their best either, so that really was a shock result. Like, I thought South still would have got up over the Dragons in that match, but clearly South were worse than us on the day.
Only just, but I would say Lachlan Ilias did learn a lot from that game, and that by the end, he carried the Rabbitohs all the way to the finals. Not only did they knock the Roosters out in week 1 at Allianz Stadium for the second week in a row,
Yes.
they knocked off the Sharks, and then they were up 12-0 against the Panthers. 12-0 up in the preliminary final match.
The 2021 grand final rematch.
Yeah, 2022. Shot at the grand final for last year, and then Latrell Mitchell got involved.
Yes.
He threw a pass when he should have just run with it, and for the moment Toto scores, South's season was over. I just saw it on the wall. The moment that pass was thrown, it was over for the Rabbitohs because Penrith got their steam up and they just ran away with it in the second half.
Momentum, like one small little error like that can turn the game on its head very quickly, and that's exactly what happened there. Penrith, once they got the ball rolling from that South era, that was it.
What really played against them was for and against, because they were winning, yes, as they were still in the 8 and winning, but the for and against really kept them away from the top 6 or 7 teams on the ladder. They only managed to get to as high as 6 by round 21, but a couple of results went against them, including another match against the Panthers, which saw the minor premiership get wrapped up. But I would actually give Jason Demetriou an 8 for the season.
Yeah,
8 out of 10. Rookie coach, lost your captain and your halfback, first choice. Fresh halfback coming in. Latrell Mitchell missing for practically 3 months.
Yeah.
But he comes back. He plays good too. You get to the prelim finals. What is that now? The 5th prelim final in 6 years they've made?
a lot better than what their previous. Oh no, it might have been someone else.
Yeah, fifth prelim final.
Yeah.
Fifth prelim in 6 years.
But yeah, that's a very solid effort on Jason Demetrio taking over from Wayne Bennett.
who
Finally.
only got them to the grand final the year prior. Now, there is little doubts of who was South Sydney's best player, in my estimation.
Let me guess. Mitchell or
No,
Walker?
piss off. It wasn't Mitchell or Walker. They were good, but not...
Cam Murray.
I would have picked Murray, but I can't ignore Alex Johnston.
Okay, yes.
Yep. Kev, an Irvine medalist for the second year running, if not the third, actually.
Believe it's the third
30
year.
tries, 5 try assists, 2,957 run meters, so 3 kilometers almost up for Johnston the whole year, 73 tackle breaks, 41 line breaks, 8 offloads, and yeah, he also kicked 3 goal line dropouts to his name.
Yes, he did. And he's closed in on the record of
Ken Irvine himself.
Yes.
Yes, currently the first player in the NRL history to score more than 30 tries in 2 years, twice.
Yep.
And it's unbelievable. I think if Walker and Mitchell could just keep feeding him good ball, within the next year and a bit, he could have 212 tries easily.
And broke the record, the all-time record.
All-time...
At the time, everyone would thought, oh, this is not going to getting beat. Well, welcome to 2023, and it's under threat. Well,
it's not under threat yet.
But it's closer. It's becoming more of a threat of getting broken.
He's currently on 166 tries. That's how many tries Alex Johnston has scored throughout his entire career.
And all at South Sydney too.
Yes, all at South. So he would need at least another 50 tries plus to surpass that record.
Well, sure, if he gets another 30 this year, it'll be possibly...
I can easily see before 2025 Alex Johnston to become the greatest ever try scorer of our generation.
I'm going to make a call now. By Origin Game 1 next year, he'll have it broken.
That's a big call.
That's including the finals and the grand final if South make it.
And how many blowout wins South have, because you never know. I mean, you might score 6 tries in a match again.
True.
And now the Rabbitohs, the first 5 rounds. This is how it shapes up for them. A trip to the Sutherland Shire to face Craig Fitzgibbon's Sharks. Now,
that's got a juicy matchup.
It will be. Ilias in his second full year, really, up against Nico Hines, the defending Dally and medalist. To say a mouth-watering matchup. But speaking of mouth-watering, oh boy, these next 2 weeks. Round 2 at the foot of the mountains against the Panthers.
Yeah.
All really entertaining clashes over the last 3 years. And then, round 3, the pièce de résistance. The Allianz Stadium Turf War, third installment. Yep, they really left it in the this early in the season for us. Roosters, Rabbitohs, round 3 at Allianz. I've got the popcorn.
I was going to say, I think Rabbitohs have won pretty much all the games against the Roosters at Allianz.
Well, it's a 1-1 record, so I wouldn't really say it's a dominant performance. But, I mean, the record at Allianz stands at 66% from 3 games, so
yeah,
they got the better form there.
Bloody oath they do.
Round 4, they're at home for their first game against Manly, and then back-to-back home games, I should say, with the Melbourne Storm rounding out the first 5.
That's another juicy matchup against Melbourne Storm. Manly, I don't think will be a no contest. I think that will be the first blowout score for South Sydney.
So you think the preseason will count for naught in this one?
Yes. Preseason doesn't really mean much.
Well, apparently, if you're Manly, you won it, and they're $100,000 richer because of it.
Yeah, but it doesn't. I don't know what it goes towards though.
Des Hasler's payout.
Probably.
They're probably not. Well, I wouldn't say they're legally obligated yet, but you've got to be thinking. Yeah, come here, boys. Desi wants a shot at that 100K. I mean, that'd honestly be the one thing that'd be on my mind to pay off before anything else.
Yeah.
Now, the roster rotation. And not that very many departures, but not many sightings either for South. Jackson Polo leaving for the Roosters, as most South juniors do.
Yeah.
Cody Nikorima and Mark Nichols also leaving for the Dolphins. Nikorima having joined the Warriors midway through last year, as well as gaining Daniel Saluka Fafita midway through last year from the Roosters. But other than that, they really haven't been active in the market.
But do they really need to be, though?
No, I wouldn't think so.
Exactly. They've got a stacked team. Yes, they've lost some experience in Mark Nichols. He was one of the good players. Well, I was going to say one of the good players.
Underrated.
Yeah. One of the most underrated players for South Sydney in 2022. But other than that, why make changes when the team's solid?
And
That's
they're also banking on the fitness of Mitchell, Walker, Cook, and Murray to carry them for this year.
Plus, you'll probably have Origin thrown in the mix of that too, with those players in contention, no doubt about it.
I really think this is a very strong Rabbitohs outfit. I mean, 5 of the last 6 preliminary finals they have made, including 1 grand final, but that's also the problem. They've made 5 straight prelim finals and have not gone on to win the premiership.
True.
They've choked on 4 of those occasions, and even when they did make it, Stephen Crichton had an intercept to say about that.
Well, that was Dane Gagai's fault for throwing the ball.
No, it was Walker's fault.
Walker's fault,
Walker threw it. Gagai was a short man on the inside. Everyone could tell. Walker goes short. Gagai's through a hole. Crichton shot up for no good reason. Souths take the lead in that grand final. Everyone knows that.
Yeah, sorry, that's my bad. I got my players mixed up. But Gagai was still going to be involved in that play. But really, that did cost them then.
It did.
That was kind of the better shot than what they've had over the last, 5 years.
2018, they lose to the Roosters without scoring a try.
Yes.
2019, Josh Papali'i scores a barnstormer to get the Raiders into the grand final.
Yes.
Then in 2020 and 22, they lose to Penrith. If first in a tight contest, the second one that turned into a blowout.
Yes.
And 2021, when they did make the grand final, they knocked Manly clean out.
Yeah, but it was Manly, for God's sake.
Well, I mean, it was Manly under Des when they were playing good.
True.
But I think they will be right about up there come September. Still amongst probably one of 6 teams that could probably win in the premiership without having to actually finish in the top 4.
Yeah, possibly.
Now, last week, I predicted that the Penrith Panthers would go on to achieve the three-peat. But do I see the Rabbitohs standing in their way in the grand final?
Yes.
No.
Oh.
No. Last year, they finished 7th on the ladder and made it as far as the preliminary finals. This year, I will say they will finish 5th. I think if they can keep Orca and Mitchell fit, Lachlan Ilias it's a good kick on, I think Souths are in for another good year. Prelim finals at the very least.
Fair enough. I'm going to say South improve. Back on the momentum that Latrell, Cody, Walker, Damien Cook and the likes. I was thinking they're going to finish 2nd behind Penrith on the ladder.
You think they'll finish 2nd?
And probably go through to the grand final.
So you say South Sydney are going to make the grand final?
By finishing 2nd on the ladder.
One that's as 5th and a prelim final appearance. Potentially the other says straight through to the grand final. Yeah, we'll see who's right at the end of September. Now,
What a likely year.
the St. George Illawarra Dragons, everyone's favourite punching bag besides the West Tigers.
Pretty much. It wasn't our best season.
Once
again.
Once again. It is like...
Again.
So, you go up to the Sunshine Coast to play the Nomadic Warriors at this point. You do good. And then that's where it ends. Because what do we got here? 4-point loss to Penrith. The Sharks belted you down at the Gong. Parramatta belted you on their home turf. Thank God for that. South beat you up. You somehow managed to beat up Newcastle, but then who couldn't...
It's Newcastle for crying out loud.
Yeah, it is Newcastle. I mean, literally everyone was able to beat them at least once.
Yes.
But surprising result Anzac Day, or did you to see this one coming?
Well, look, I really love the Anzac Day clash. It's on my bucket list to go to one day.
Who knows?
It always brings the best out of both sides. But to me, it actually was a bit of a surprise result, to be quite honest with you.
Well, I think everyone was expecting the Roosters just to run over the top of you, but
Yeah.
no, all credit to the Dragons. They done good.
Yeah, but then it didn't go very well after that either.
Well, that was the second leg of a 3-game winning run that saw you climb from from second last on the ladder, so away from the Tigers.
Yeah.
But then you got reality checked hard by the Storm again.
But that's a Storm. We're not that good.
How do I summarize the Dragons in 2022? It's like you have all this potential. I rate Anthony Griffin as a coach, but he cannot get the best out of what he's got.
Well, Ben Hunt's been the best player yet again, though. I have to say it was a bad season, but it could have been worse for us.
Well,
I would say it wasn't great. I would say about average.
10 weeks to go, you're in the top 8 after bouncing the Rabbitohs 30-0 in the first half. And then you lose to the Broncos. The Roosters smash you in Gosford. Joey Manu on one hamstring was able to beat you.
I know. That always tends to be the case, so just quickly. Whoever wins on Anzac Day, the reverse happens in the later fixture in the season. Not always.
Well, if the Roosters win on Anzac Day, they'll just beat your ass again on the reverse fixture.
Yeah, but that's what happens. Roosters win Anzac Day. They win again
and then
on
they'll
reverse
just beat
fixture.
you again anyway.
But then if we win on Anzac Day, we're still going to lose against the Roosters later on. That's the trend. That is seriously
you know
the
what?
trend.
I think this sums you up best. Oh, when the Saints go marching out. Oh, when the Saints go marching out.
Are you calling us
I
chokers?
wanna bash my teammate. Oh, when the Saints get kicked out.
You're saying getting choking.
That's exactly it. That is exactly
I have to give
the
you credit. That was
Dragons.
actually quite well done, to be quite honest with you.
Well, that's not even my best attempt, but
I know, but still.
But that is exactly the Dragons summed up in badly strung, angled cat noises.
Yeah, pretty much.
And we will talk about that scuffle between teammates at Mudgee, because apparently...
I didn't really hear about this, to be quite honest with you.
Well, it's only he came up recently.
Well, that's probably why I haven't heard about it.
But at the end of the day, you did manage to peel off 3 straight wins to finish as high as 10th on the ladder. But another failure of a season.
Yes, and another year without the finals. Woo!
Which is standard for St. George Illawarra at this point. But you're right, Ben Hunt was the best man. And for the Red V, again, 6 tries, 17 try assists, 2,014 run meters, 57 tackle breaks, 7 line breaks, 36 offloads, 13 goal line dropouts, and his forte, 6 40-20s. I believe the most 40-20 kicks of any player in the game at this point.
Yes, I believe so too. He's so good with his 40-20s, and the purpose of him doing this is to try and turn the game around into the Dragons' favour.
Well, it's clutch. That's what the Dragons need. The clutch player who's actually playing to his potential and his pay packet.
And I think he tried doing that in the Charity Shield as well, I believe.
Yeah, we will touch on the Charity Shield shortly. This is what the Dragons roster is going to shape up as, really cutting away a bit of fat at here. Tarek Sims, of course, let go to join the Melbourne Storm.
To be honest, that's the most disappointing loss, Tarek Sims.
Josh Maguire signed on to join the Warrington Wolves and then sit out for 7 straight matches for verbal dissent. Jackson Ford leaving to link up with the Warriors. Jack Gajeski moving north for the Cowboys. Daniel Alvaro left midway through the year to link up with Toulouse Olympique. George Burgess finally pulled the pin on his career here because the injuries just got too much. And younger forward Poasa Farmasili leaving to link up with Wayne Bennett at the Dolphins.
Plus Andrew McCulloch also retiring at the end of the season.
Yes, Andrew McCulloch, another medical retirement right there.
But on a signage front, we've got Zane Musgrove from the West Tigers, Nick Luatoso from Northern Pride, Jacob Little from the West Tigers, and Ben Murdoch-Masila from the New Zealand Warriors.
You must really like signing rejects from the West Tigers.
I reckon. What about not just on the Tigers, from any club? Really, to be quite honest with you.
I suppose that's true. I mean, look at all 4 of those signings. Apart from Nick Louis Torso, who aims to be a promising prospect, I would reckon.
Well, Jacob Little's still young as well.
But how many ACL injuries has he done?
2, I believe.
So
Correct me
an
if I'm
injury-prone hooker, who's probably the only one.
I could be wrong. It could have been 1, but...
Ben Murdoch-Masila, I rate him as a forward, but he too much time on the sideline. And is he really suited to an edge role?
I don't know. The way he played against St. Helens the other weekend, that was pretty impressive.
And then you got Zane Musgrove, who's had complications in the past with the law.
Yes, I know. It's the Law and the Dragons. Like, seriously, had Jack the Balance case. Now we've got Junior Mane. We've had Zane Musgrove in the past. Who else am I trying to rattle off my head at the moment?
Let me see. Let me just look through all the court files to see where I can find everyone listed under St. George and Illawarra.
Well, even like with Barbecue Gates. I was like, for fuck's sake, seriously? You might as well call it Law and Dragons or...
No, Law and Red V.
Yeah, that one.
That's probably about it.
Yeah.
Now, the Dragons start the 2023. Well,
Bye, round 1!
you're kicked out of the Premiership. Good news.
Hey!
But yeah, no, all seriousness, it's only a bye for the Dragons in round 1.
And can I say, thank God we did have to buy for round 1, because we really need to work on a lot of things based on what I saw around Charity Shield, which we'll touch on soon.
Like actually defending.
Yes.
So round 2, the first game of the year, will be up against the Gold Coast Titans at Cogra.
Well, I was going to say that should be a win for us, but history shows they're close contests.
Not always. Round 3 sees you travel up to Suncorp Stadium to take on the Broncos, where Adam Reynolds may or may not be past fit for this point.
Yeah, probably.
Round 4 up against the Sharks once again at Cogra.
That was a bye-bye for us.
At the Gong on April Fool's Day, playing the Dolphins for the first time. That's where you get the first win. The Dolphins will beat you. Yes.
You're saying the Dolphins will beat us?
Yes.
Are you saying we're that shit?
Yes.
I don't think so. I think we should get the win over the Dolphins.
Delusional. Bless him. And
Hey,
Easter Sunday,
you talk about being delusional.
Round 6, Easter Sunday, up against the Titans again, this time making the trip up to the Gold Coast.
See how those first result pans out, see if we go back to back. I'd say we can get at least 3 wins to start the season against the Gold Coast Titans twice and the Dolphins.
Probably 1.
Your opinion, my opinion, 2 different things.
Host privileges.
And I'm not a host.
It's debatable.
Hey! You're debatable. Where do I see us making the finals?
The cycle once again.
Where do I see us in the season? Not making the finals yet again.
Yes, ye of no faith whatsoever in St. George Illawarra. Anthony Griffin, is he going to be the first coach sacked in 2023?
Well, apparently, if he's got a poor record in the first 10 weeks, he's gone. If he's got a good record, he stays.
And then gets sacked at the end of the year if the Dragons don't make the finals.
Probably.
Because that would be the pattern for St. George, I reckon.
More than likely, we'll just see what Paul McGregor,
Steve Price.
Practically
since Wayne Bennett, the Dragons have just been meh.
Non-existent.
No, meh. That's it.
Meh.
It's just like, oh, yeah, the Dragons. How many times have they made the finals since Wayne Bennett left?
Twice. 2015, 2018.
And how many times did they actually make it to the grand final?
None.
How many times did they suck ass when it mattered most?
Twice.
Yeah, you're screwed again.
Especially with the freaking South game where Adam Reynolds got 3 field goals.
Yep.
Still don't like that
What was
game.
that? Speak up, I can't hear you. Is that moaning? Is that St. George moaning? I'm pretty sure that is St. George moaning Warrior right there.
We had the game in the bag against South Sydney, but no, Adam Reynolds had to kick 3 bloody field goals.
And you see, ladies and gentlemen, this is what happens when you sign eyeing up a multi-million-dollar halfback who dropped the ball in the grand final for the Broncos.
That's the Broncos.
This is Red v. Copium right here. Thank
that's
God
the Broncos. That's a different team.
You still signed him up.
Yes, but he's been our best player.
Only recently he has.
He's won it the last 2 years in a row. Or maybe 3 years in a row. Anyway.
Will it be disrespect that kills the Dragons? Or will it actually be poor form? You be the judge of that.
Poor form!
Yeah. And what's with this Zach Lomax playing left centre to stiffen your defensive edge up?
That's worked wonders, hasn't it? Not.
Yeah, maybe.
Not.
I could probably think of 27 reasons to Anthony Griffin why that didn't work out.
27. Why 27?
Because the other 3 only turned up.
Oh.
Yep, you got it.
You
got it.
Sorry, it took me a while then.
You should have got it before.
Yeah.
Right, the Dragons, they finished 10th on the ladder, just on the outskirts of the 8s, having really not been in a factor in that finals conversation all year long. At the rate, Newcastle and the Broncos will probably be fighting for a top 8 spot alongside the Storm at this point. I think the Dragons, they're going to get pushed down a little bit. I don't see Zach Lomax playing left centre long term.
No.
They don't have a 5'8" that can last more than a full preseason, where you got one in jail, one with injury suspicion, a fullback that probably doesn't even play first grade. Ada has been battered around so much, he's thinking he's playing for the Tigers at this point. I think the Dragons end up 12th on the ladder.
You know what? I actually have to agree with you. I actually agree with you that we will finish 12th on the ladder.
Now, speaking on to the hate session of the Dragons, let's continue that.
No,
the Charity
please
Shield.
not.
Where once again, the South Sydney Rabbitohs triumph for their 7th win in 8 years, downing the Dragons 42-24. Let's talk about that.
Let's talk about the second half because we...
No. Let's talk about the first half because we don't do things by halves unless we want to avoid something. We talk the full game.
I want to avoid something in our first half performance because our second half performance, we outscored South Sydney.
You outscored South Sydney.
In the second half.
Yeah, what about the first half?
That was the highlight of the match.
Diabolical Dragons. That's how I can sum up the first half. I mean, seriously, Cam Murray and Damien Cook commanded the middle of the field like they were somehow the pride of the league, allegedly.
Yes.
And if I just check notes, I did not... There were 0 defenders. And that perfectly reflected the scoreboard because you defended no tries from being scored.
No, we didn't.
But that, I mean, yeah, it was totally your defense. And it's the Rabbitohs. They were absolutely in cruise control. Cook to Murray, the perfect go-forward combination. And then you have Cody Walker playing off the back, allowing Latrell Mitchell, Alex Johnson to open up. And you even let Jai Arrow through. You somehow left the field that open. Jai Arrow scored off the bench.
Yep. That's us.
But I will say this, he was my standout player for this game. 1 try, 105 run meters, 11 hit-ups, 1 offloads, and this is impressive. 25 tackles, no miss. Only 1 ineffective tackle.
Yeah, right.
So they were pretty good numbers.
They are pretty good numbers, I have to admit that. But yeah, our defence was absolutely shit in the first half.
It honestly looked like you were playing under 7s, which would probably be where St. George would still try to find the glory now.
Probably.
Nowhere near the first grade.
No. Even probably under 2s, if they had that.
No, that's why I just said under 7s, because
I know.
you didn't need to go there. Why'd you have to go there?
Because it's me, and I'm one of those Dragon supporters that still supports them loyalty-wise, but also still bags the shit out of them, so...
Like any good fan would.
Pretty much.
You still love them, but you'd bag the shit out of them because of the poor performance.
Exactly.
When you're not getting in jail, that is.
Exactly.
Yeah, then you remembered you were actually playing for something at this point, so you came alive in the second half when literally everyone else had gone to bed.
Well, it's pretty much when all the star players from South Sydney were off the field.
Yeah, which was the only time you could score, and that's
Exactly.
saying a lot about your team
Oh, I know.
right there.
Oh, I know. We can't even beat a freaking top side like South Sydney.
And even when you did get a little bit of leeway, you still can't defend.
No.
Not good.
That's why I said thank God we got week 1 off, because we really need to fix our defence, especially in the middle of the field.
Well, Jai Arrow was absolutely monstering. I was listening to it on the radio as I was away from the TV at that point. I was
an old
hearing...
man.
No, because I live a life, you dumbass.
I know.
Everyone lives a life.
I know.
But no, I
Some
was
more in
listening
ancient
to...
times than others.
Anyway, radio, listening, just hearing Jai Arrow absolutely monstering blokes in the fence. I was hearing Gilmeister comparisons, like the Axeman to chop his opponents in half.
Yep.
Well, if you could chop the Dragons in half again, maybe we could have St. George Illawarra West's Dragons.
Who knows?
But,
Hey, bloody knows.
But yeah, once again, and the Rabbitohs just too good on the day, and the people of Mudgee loving the Cardinal and Myrtle men.
Besides last year.
Now, speaking of defence, the World Club Challenge. What a result we did end up with.
Yeah, we certainly did get a result. To be quite honest with you, Penrith never looked like scoring for the majority of the match, to be quite honest with you.
Defence, that's what wins the big moments. And St. Helens, 13-12 winners, absolutely hungry in defence.
Bloody oath they were.
They identified what their main game plan was early.
Shut down Cleary.
Exactly. And boy, did they really put a number on him.
Oh, yeah, they did. Especially like Wellesby as well. The expected lot. So Wellesby, Wormsley, Lomax, Dodd, Makinson when he was out on the field.
Yeah, absolutely right. Really, they sold this as this was to be the best World Club Challenge ever. And you know what? It delivered.
It certainly did. It didn't look like it at first, though. It really kicked in the last, the last 10, 15, 20 minutes?
Well, to be fair, St. Helens set up a good lead, leading 12-0 early, playing to the conditions, and backing their defence where necessary.
Mind you, the conditions was typical England weather. Wet.
Well, no, the conditions were tropical. Storms, which is not typical England weather, but it certainly beats frost.
But there was still rain, which is what they're used to.
Yeah, true. You could say they were used to that. But the fight back from Penrith in the second half, the first try that believe Isaac Toggle scored, that was a very...
Taylor May.
Taylor May.
Yeah.
But that was a very lucky bounce off that Nathan Cleary kick.
It certainly was, and that really kicked Penrith into gear, really. That's what they needed to carry on.
Well, they chipped away what they could, and I think they were very lucky to get that penalty against the run of play for the Saints. They could have put that game to bed 13-6, but very lucky penalty where they obstructed the chasers down on Lewis Dodd for the drop goal attempt.
Yes.
And from there, once again, getting lucky, Jack Wellesby apparently having a very solid game as man of the match.
Yep.
One error that led to a try.
Yes, and that was from a bomb kick by Nathan Cleary. I think it was Nathan Cleary.
Yeah, Cleary again. And the mistake from Wellesby, they pounced on the ball. To'o owes the score. Or Cleary, 9 metres out from touch.
And then Cleary with a difficult kick, slotted it over.
Oh, it was easy. It looked easy.
Yeah, it did look easy. And it sent it into Golden Point.
Yeah, which was very lucky because apparently the pre-season challenge, no Golden Point all up. But for the World Club Challenge that was the exception.
Yeah. I was going to say 7 Charity Shield, but it's not. Charity Shield, if it's a draw, it's the winner from last year regains it.
But I'll tell you what, my stand-up for St. Helens, it was Conrad Hurrell. One try, 104 run meters, 4 tackle breaks, 1 line break, and 3 offloads. But most importantly, I said defence. chopped Stephen Crichton in half. That shot on Crichton won
Well-
the match for St Helens.
Well, the size difference between Crichton and Hurrell, of course Crichton was going to lose out on that.
But that hit changed everything.
Certainly, oath it did. It pretty much, like you said, won the game for St Helens.
Going into this game, one or two outcomes was going to be possible. Penrith Panthers were in their third World Club Challenge, looking for their first, having previously lost to Wigan and Bradford on their two previous attempts.
Which is what your prediction was.
St Helens were making their third World Club Challenge appearance since their last win all the way back in 2007. Lewis Dodd steps up, having missed all of the back half of last year when Saints made it 4 in a row. Steps up, 20 metres out, dropped goal.
On tackle 3 too. The reason why he got it was because of quick
Just-
play to ball.
Exactly. Alex Walmsley took the line on, set it up for Dodd, and that sealed very much a historic win. The first British League club to win on Australian soil since the Wigan Warriors did it in 1994.
And I did say it might have been changing of the guard.
Well, it's me eating a true moment in British Rugby League history, because this is now St Helens' third World Club Challenge win. The previous two, they beat the Brisbane Broncos. To go with their 3 previous times they've made it, losing to Melbourne once, and losing to the Roosters as well.
Very well. But it's so good that the World Club Challenge back after COVID and all that stuff.
You know what?
Restrictions.
St.
and that.
Helens have now made the case. Not just, depending how you want to take this or whether you agree, it gave Super League respect. Because now they've leveled the ledger up at 14-all once more.
Yeah, right.
Is it a turning point? I don't know. I can't see the future. But for the
Neither can
moment-
I.
But for St. Helens, they have now won every single domestic trophy either it is on offer for them. They got the League Leaders Shield, they got the Grand Final, they got the Challenge Cup, now they've won the World Club Challenge in this Red V dynasty, the true Red V dynasty.
Well, I was going to say, in your case, yes, but in my case, no. But yeah, they're just so good, St. Helens.
They are. And Eddie Hemmings, once again, his famous phrase he says about this club, never write off the Saints.
Yes.
And now Penrith have learned, and I've got to say, the memes. Parramatta
Yes.
fans can breathe easy because apparently the Saints can just walk in and they are the daddies now.
Yes, I saw that one. That was hilarious.
It's just like all the smug Penrith fans, and it's just like, you have now been humbled, so we're all even now.
Exactly. No, it was good to have the World Cup Challenge back, and it come down literally to the wire, and it never looked like it was going to be quite honest with you. I think Andrew Voss said in the commentary along the lines of something like Penrith never looked that first try or whatever from Taylor May said that came out of literally nowhere.
And it had to.
And it certainly did. Because it never looked like they were in the match.
No, certainly not. But full credit to St. Helens. They came out here taking time away from their domestic comp, and we will cover that shortly. But other than that, their tour down under, a very successful one. They came, they saw, and they conquered. Now we'll see what happens next.
That's
Now,
it.
moving on back into domestic affairs, we have the Sydney Roosters. A real surprise for the way their season ended.
It was a little bit knocked out in week 1.
Never seen that happen before.
Not from the Roosters, no.
Not for a long time, as the Roosters been knocked out in the first week of the finals.
But it was a cracker game, though.
It was. It absolutely was. But they almost didn't make the finals, or they didn't look like being dominant in the finals.
No. It's a change of goal. Like, usually the Roosters start off a little bit slower, then just build towards the end of the season. This year wasn't quite like that, though.
Well, what really happened was they had Luke Keary back for the first time in a year.
True.
And they finally had the opportunity to pair him with Sam Walker. Didn't really get off to the best start.
No.
shock loss to Newcastle, of all teams.
Yes, that was a
at
shock.
the cricket ground. And then they go humbled by the Rabbitohs, obviously, in round 3, when Mitchell will absolutely own them again.
Yeah.
And then back-to-back losses. They lost to the Dogs.
That
7
was-
Anzac Day to round 8. First to the Dragons, then to the Dogs.
That Dogs loss was a massive surprise. I said it had to be one of the upsets of the season alongside Tigers being in South Sydney and Parramatta in back-to-back weeks.
That was absolutely unbelievable that the Roosters lost to Canterbury like that.
Mm.
Mind you, they did have a Suali'i try taken away from them at the death. But still, going down to the Dogs were 2 intercepts from Josh Adokar. 2 bone rattlers of freakish length of the field efforts sealed the deal.
That's it. Doesn't take much, doesn't it?
And then they lost 4 on the trot, lost to Canberra, lost to Melbourne, lost to Parramatta, and then the Penrith again. They were on the outskirts of the 8.
It was starting to get a bit touch and go with they were going to make, like, if they could stick with their, or they keep sliding down further.
But eventually they did move Sam Walker into the halfback role long term, and it really paid dividends for the next several weeks after that. 2 months, really, because after that they won 8 in a row to get into the top 6. And then they bombed out. I mean, it really was a uphill battle the moment Tedesco went down. And their backline just got shot to shit.
Yeah, that's exactly right. But mind you, it might have been round 25 where they had, 5 sin bins? Was that the final?
That was the final.
That was the final, yes.
Yes, a record 7 sin bins
7, sorry.
in the Roosters and the Rabbitohs. Unbelievable.
With
ill
Victor
discipline.
Radley going up in the bin, twice?
Yep. Aye. It's unbelievable.
But I've never ever seen that. But you think, did we just see, at that match, I was like, did we just see 7 sin bins
Yes.
in a match?
We did.
I've never seen it.
Well, a league record that hopefully is never repeated.
Well, you hope not.
James Tedesco, obviously, he carried the Roosters again, and he proved why he was so crucial when he was ruled out in that elimination final at the new Allianz Stadium. 13 tries, 12 try assists, 5,091 run meters,
Wow.
169 tackle breaks, 17 line breaks, 26 offloads, and 5 goal line dropouts he's forced.
Solid
Just
effort there.
The captain carrying the Roosters on his back for the last couple of years.
13 tries is probably a bit quiet for him, I think. But it's still a solid effort, though.
If you're scoring 13 tries, you're putting yourself up there amongst your top try-scoring weapons.
True.
Only 4 tries behind Daniel Tupou.
I was going to say, also, I haven't got the stats with me, but Joey Manu, who had another blinder of a season, chuck him anywhere and he can play.
I wouldn't chuck him in the front row, though. You stick him in at lock forward, he'd probably still
in
do.
the halves, in the centres, at fullback, on the wing. He'll play really well.
And then
Even on one leg.
And then you throw Joseph Suali'i into the mix, because that's all this thing with the Roosters. Effectively, they got 3 fullbacks in the lineup. The back 5 has got 3 fullbacks.
Tedesco, Manu, and Suali'i.
Yep. You can't fit them all at fullback.
No. But it shows they've got the depth that if Tedesco goes down, they've got Suali'i there or Manu there. If 2 of them are out, well, then you got one there as well.
Well, speaking of depth, they've really done a number on the roster rotation depth-wise. Of course, regular starters Sio Siwa, Tauki Aho left to link up with the Catalan Dragons. Sammy Verrills also went away to link up with the Gold Coast Titans. Of course, Saluka Fafita joining the Bunnies mid-year. Freddie Lussick and Ronnie Volkman also are leaving mid-year to join the New Zealand Warriors. Lachlan Lamb left to link up with the Lee Leopards, as they are known now midway through last year. Kevin Nagama returned in the Super League with the Huddersfield Giants. Ran off a Tony to Wakefield Trinity. And Jacob Preston linking up with the Canterbury Bulldogs, where hashtag Preston Mania has taken off amongst Bulldogs circles.
Plus Oliver Gilder going to the Dolphins.
Well, returning to the Tigers, then linking up with the Dolphins. That's how I counted.
Yeah,
and finally, Adam Kieran also heading for the Catalan Dragons.
Yeah. They got a big signing from Brandon Smith and the Melbourne Storm, which is a massive signing and one that really no one saw coming, to be quite honest. Jake Turpin from the Brisbane Broncos, another dummy half there. Jackson Polo from the South Sydney Rabbitohs, so that's probably a backup for the centres and the winners and the likes. And also Corey Allen from the Bulldogs will be another backup for the back line.
The cheese was probably the biggest coup the Roosters have had, but also probably many would say controversial, considering the podcast comments where he sort of ruffled a few feathers down in Melbourne, to say the least.
He wanted to be a starting dummy half, and he wasn't going to get that with Harry Grant.
No, of course not. So, of course, Uncle Nick's done the right thing, said, Brandon, I'll give you all the cheddar in the world if you come and play at Bondi.
But it was in the expense of Sam Farrell's.
Well, he sort of needed a fresh start as well, to be fair.
He's been a bit injury prone as well, which hasn't quite helped either.
Just hasn't had the luck of the draw.
No.
Or injuries, his form of other players. The Roosters, they have struggled with a clean bill of health for the last 3 years. No arguments.
100%. It's 2023 year they're going to go through without any major injuries to their star players.
Well, I wouldn't know, because round one, they are up at Suncorp Stadium for the inaugural Arthur Beetson Cup, up against the Dolphins. Certainly will be a big occasion that
definitely will be.
The Sunday afternoon at Suncorp.
It will be, but I think the Roosters will go over the top of the Dolphins.
I think the Roosters will do just that, but a new rivalry will probably be born out of that, potentially.
Potentially. See how it goes.
Back-to-back home games at their brand new Allianz Stadium. First up against the Trans-Tasman foe in the Warriors, before the turf war kicks off for a third time.
Yes. Should be a win against the Warriors. I don't know about the win against South or not.
They got the bye in round 4, so the next time we will see the Roosters will be in round 5 again at home, so they'll have a run of 3 straight home games, all things considered, up against the grand finalists, the Eels, before round 6, Easter Thursday, up against the Melbourne Storm.
There's definitely 2 wins in that. Dolphins and the Warriors. Other than that, it's a flip of a coin.
I could probably see maybe 3 wins out of that.
The other one against Parramatta?
4 in the best case if they can somehow muster the game plan to knock out Melbourne and Melbourne.
Which is not a very good record.
But best case, I can see 3 wins, 2 losses.
So your 3 wins would be Dolphins, Warriors, and Parramatta?
Yep.
No,
I would really hope they utilise Allianz Stadium to their full potential. The same way the Eels have done it with Combank.
And Penrith with Blue Bay.
That's not in the same thing. It's not the same league.
It's a fortress,
the Roosters
though.
and the Eels have had brand new stadiums built for them on the carcass of the old one, which really weren't that old, but everyone's accepted as the beautiful first-class venues we've now got in this state.
True.
Parramatta have been able to make teams suffer when they've travelled to Combank. The Roosters haven't had the opportunity to do that with Allianz. Now they've got a full year there.
Yeah.
And now minus 1 or 2 games at the cricket ground when the FIFA Women's World Cup kicks off mid-July.
Yes.
But other than that, I think the Roosters are building something here. I now genuinely think the Roosters are setting themselves up for another shot at the title.
They could be.
Discipline, always a concern when you've got Victor Radley and Jared Warrior-Hargraves in. And once collective bargaining agreement is finalised, which from all sources indicate it could be finalised within the week.
Yes.
So that means Matt Lodge will finally sign on to a full-time deal with the Roosters once more.
But he's another one that's always got
I
disciplinary
think
issues.
Trent Robinson, this is his 10th year at the Roosters, and you could pretty much say, to this point, it has been a successful tenure.
Oh, bloody oath it has been.
9 finals appearances, 3 premiership wins, and he's not that far away from becoming the most capped Roosters head coach of all time.
Behind Brian Smith?
I believe it would be Brian Smith.
Yes. I knew it was Brian someone. I'm pretty sure it was Brian Smith. But yeah.
Pretty sure would be Brian Smith. Same amount of success Jack Gibson ever got during the mid-70s for the Roosters.
True.
It's just as much, actually.
Yeah.
So, the Roosters, they've got the concerns. But you know what? I'm going to make a very bold prediction, even for the Roosters.
Here we go.
Last year, they finished 6th on the ladder and were out in the elimination final to their arch rivals. I think they put it all together. I think Sam Walker kicks on. Luke Keary will be there. And finally with some... Well, even though he's not going to be there for round 1. Hopefully, everyone gets an injury-free year this year. I'm going to predict the Roosters will finish first with a minor premiership. But wait, it doesn't end there. I'm also predicting they will make the grand final.
Against Penrith.
Yep, that's my grand final prediction. The Roosters play the Panthers, but it will be Penrith to achieve the three-peat.
Yeah, okay. Well, I've gone for a bit of a downside. Roosters make a top 8. They're going to finish in 8th. But it's going to be so tight, the top 8. I've said that from pretty much the first preview. But, as I said with South Sydney, they're going to be in the grand final. Roosters, South Sydney grand final.
You're calling a Rabbitohs Roosters grand final.
Yes.
And your premier?
Roosters.
So you're going to back the Roosters
From 8th.
To
win.
beat South Sydney in the grand final to become the first club of the NRL era.
Yep.
On the 25th anniversary since this competition and was established, the reunification of the ARL and the Rebel Super League, to win the premiership from 8th on the ladder, not achieved in a unified competition since the Sydney Bulldogs of 1995 when they finished 6th and did it.
Yep.
You are bloody mad.
Remember, my minor premiers were the Panthers.
So you got Penrith finishing as the minor premiers, missing out for the ultimate grand final showdown, Rabbitohs v Roosters.
Yep. Cellar Accor Stadium.
You are dead set mad. Right.
That's why it's called predictions, buddy.
Well, both agree the Roosters in the grand final. One that says as the go the long way round. The other says minor premiers to lose to the defending premiers.
I think your is more realistic than mine. But you never know.
And finally, speaking of jokes that come in many stripes, that play at many grounds, that got a taste of wood for the first time, it is the West Tigers.
I was going to try and say something about the wood, yes.
What a mess it was for Michael Maguire.
Well, it cost him his job.
Yeah, it did.
At the end of the season. No. Yes?
Midway through,
that's right, because Brett Cremorley took over. Even
poor bastard.
that didn't help him either.
How would you describe the West Tigers? Picture St. George Illawarra that's split between in several grounds, several identities, but 10 times worse.
Oi.
It's a compliment. I'm actually saying the Dragons are better at something.
Yeah, but you're still comparing us to the Tigers.
From the word go, it's like they played 40 good minutes against Melbourne and then it was regular programming resumed. And it did not get better after that. I mean, seriously. They had 4 straight weeks after round 1 where they did not score 3 tries or more. 26-4 loss to the Knights. 16-12 loss to the Warriors. 8-6 loss to the Titans where they didn't even score a try.
Yeah.
That was a shit game. And then they lose to the Sharks 30-4, even with their a secret weapon of the man with the red flare coming onto the field. That did not change things one bit.
No. But the highlights was beating Parramatta and South Sydney back-to-back weeks.
Yes, Easter Monday miracle, or is exactly what it was. Jackson Hastings coming in clutch with the field goal from 38 out.
I still can't believe that.
Nor can I.
And then
if you can't believe that, first of all, then they did it again. A week later on the same ground, this time against the Rabbitohs.
Yep.
And this time it was Luke Brooks playing
And-
at 5'8".
And then it just went downhill again.
Well, it went downhill for the next 3 weeks after that. They beat the Bulldogs at Leichhardt, which we weren't in a good frame of mind there either. And
Like
then
normal.
South returned the favour big time.
Of course they would have.
And it went downhill again. Their attack was shocking. Absolutely shocking. And thank God the Dogs have got recruited well to actually score tries.
Bloody oath.
I mean, they had 1 week where they scored 1 try against Manly. They scored 2 points against the Warriors in Auckland.
On the return match
Disaster.
to New Zealand.
Disaster. They almost beat an Origin-affected Panthers side, but couldn't. And then, well, actually, they should have actually got this one. That
Against the
controversial
Cowboys?
loss against the Cowboys
Yeah, they
in
should've.
round 19.
They definitely should have got that one there.
Carl Felt milked that penalty beyond belief. It is
Can I say,
unbelievable.
I'm going to make a statement now. Controversial moment of the year was that right
Oh, it was.
there.
Universally agreed amongst all fans.
And that was like well above like a massive distance between the next controversial moment.
Exactly. They somehow managed to beat the Broncos, but it got worse from there. 36-12 loss to the Sharks before their worst 2 results of the year. 56-10 loss to the Raiders in the final game at Leichhardt, but the worst one. At the cricket ground against the Roosters.
Yes.
72-6. Yeah, you heard that one right. 72 points to 6.
It's like the Australia's cricket run at the moment in India. 6 out for 72.
12 tries to 1.
They were lucky to get that try, to be quite honest with you. It could have been a lot worse. It could have been 72-0.
It could have been. And James Tarmo got sent off for dissent, which made the result even worse.
But he did come out and apologise later. It's like it was just a hit in the moment. He was frustrated and all that shit. But yeah.
12 tries, the worst result.
And I believe it was 12 from 12 converted as well.
Yep, Sam Walker did that as well.
Oh, dear.
Now, there weren't many standout players for the Tigers in 2022.
There's one that comes to mind for me is Jackson Hastings.
I was thinking about that, and I did give him 1 vote in my standout player running scoreboard, which you will see very soon. But I actually got to go with the Tigers' decision. Joe Ofahengawi.
He had a quiet season. Well,
1 try, 1 try assist, 2,932 run meters, 57 tackle breaks, 1 line break, 33 offloads, and 1 goal line dropout.
Yeah,
Judged by his peers to be the best player they had throughout 2022. And really, when there's no other standouts, I probably couldn't disagree with that, to be honest.
yeah. He just... I didn't really hear his name as much. He's just more of a quiet achiever in 2022.
A steady hand of the forward pack when it was really getting chopped and changed.
Bloody oath.
Now, the Tigers. Tim Sheen's back at the helm for the first time in 10 years.
With his former dummy half and 5'8" Benji Marshall and Robbie Farah as the assistants.
And they have really decided to clean house once again.
Oh, bloody hope they have.
Of
But
course.
Tim Sheens knows what he's talking about too, by the way.
Well, this one I severely disagree with. Jackson Hastings, first and foremost, let go to to join the Newcastle Knights. I don't agree with that one bit. It's Luciano let go midway through the year to link up with the Cowboys.
Well, at the moment he's not. Well, he is, but off-field issues.
Oliver Gildart leaving to join the Dolphins. Tom McKaylee leaving midway through to link up with the Warrington Wolves. Tyrone Peachey off to the Penrith Panthers, as is Luke Garner. Zane Musgrove, of course, as we just touched on, linked up with the Dragons. James Roberts went into retirement after a less than stellar performance at the joint venture. James Tamo returning to the Cowboys. Cal Matua-Lungi linking up with the Manly Seagulls. Jock Madden leaving for the Broncos. And Jacob Little also heading the way of the Dragons, with New Brown also Belmore bound.
The Gunny fronts, they've surprisingly signed a few big players. Api Coruscant from the Penrith Panthers. Isaiah Papali'i from the Parramatta Eels. Tristan Riley from the Rugby Union Waratahs. David Nofaluma returning from his loan deal at the Melbourne Storm. Charlie Staines from the Penrith Panthers. Dave Clemmer from the Knights. John Bateman from the Wigan Warriors. Will Smith from Hull FC. And Brendan Wakem from the Bulldogs. Few big names there. Coruscant, Papali'i, and Clemmer and Bateman.
Yeah, practically all four of those names right there are pretty much supposedly what the Tigers need. So, all right. So you get a new dummy half. Good. You probably got the best one in the game.
80-minute player.
You're practically building a new second row combination with our friend Gowie. You got Bateman playing on the right edge when he's not stuck in visa limbo.
Yes.
Papali'i set up on the left. Clemmer's now going to bring in more or get big game experience and, well, experience generally. Considering all these blokes have played big games, grand finals, origins, World Cups, ups the like. But they let the halfback go. It's like, you do all this good, but you don't keep Jackson Hastings.
I don't know if he wanted out or...
Well, the way forward was, this was Tim Sheen's doing. He wanted Luke Brooks at halfback.
And
he saw Hastings as a ball-playing lock, which he did not agree with. So they swapped him out to Newcastle to get Clemmer in return. And the Tigers are stuck with Brooks.
Still.
Yep, stuck with it.
They need to piss Brooks off. How many times do we say it every single game?
He's not... It's not that he doesn't run. He runs. He's just not a good halfback. I mean...
Look at Brooks when Moses was there.
Well, to be fair, even when Moses was there, he wasn't playing good as a halfback.
Yeah, but he was a bit better than what he is now.
Well, that's really saying a lot.
I think, anyway.
But look, this currently the debate whether or not Moses will stay or go back to the Tigers.
He'll stay at Parramatta.
That's the current word, is he will stay on at Parramatta, and they're expecting to announce it very soon.
This week, apparently.
Yeah, the early tip, he will stay at the Eels for less money, mind you. He's staying for at least $4 million. The Tigers were prepared to offer him $6.5 million.
That's because he's probably got more of a chance of winning a premiership with the Parramatta Eels than what he does with the Tigers.
Yeah, that's exactly the way it works out. Now, the Tigers, wooden spooners in 2022, and their road up doesn't start off easily.
Yeah.
Round one at they got back-to-back home games at Leichhardt Oval. First off, the season opener against the Gold Coast Titans. Could be debatable. The Titans sort of also shot themselves in the foot, but they also signed Kieran Foran at the same time, so be interesting to see how that one plays out. Round two, they will be up against the Newcastle Knights, led by Jackson Hastings, so this could get a little bit spicy right here.
Possibly.
Round three, they will travel west to Belmore to take on the Bulldogs.
Well, we know what happened at Belmore with the Tigers last time they played there in the just recent trial match against Canberra.
But they haven't played us at Belmore before.
Yeah, I know
It'll be a brand new experience when you got the blue and white faithful turned out. This will be a sellout crowd. Arguably the best Sunday afternoon of the year.
Mostly Bulldogs supporters, obviously.
Well, the Tigers fans will travel. Believe me, they will travel.
Yeah, but it'll still be blue and white in the crowd.
First away trip of the year, we'll see them down at Melbourne to take on Bellyache Storm. Yeah, we all know where this one's going.
60 plus anyone?
Yeah, I would probably be willing to have early bets for probably 30 plus. And rounding it off, a trip to Suncorp Stadium to take on the Broncos before, or just mentioning it, Easter Monday at a core stadium up against the Eels.
Not a very good record.
The Titans is really their only chance because I see Newcastle beating them, I see the Dogs beating them, and then of course the Storm and the Broncos also beating them.
Yeah, your big guns, yeah.
So, best case 1-4, worst case they could go 0-5 again.
Again, it probably more than likely would happen.
But this time they won't. There is no Easter Monday miracle coming their way.
No.
Look, trial form is one thing, and they were able to put a disjointed Raiders side to the sword.
But trials don't really mean anything, though.
But this is round one, and we will see very quickly how the result pans out.
Yeah.
Last year, the Tigers finished last in a 16-team competition. Even if they have signed Api Coruscant, John Bateman, Dave Clemmer, Isaiah Papali'i, I really don't see a difference.
Really?
They sign all these big names off. They've thrown all this money at them. But you got to put it together. And if you don't have a halfback to put it together, you might as well be stuck in quicksand.
True.
I think the Tigers finished 16th again. The only saving grace this time is 17 teams, and they won't be last this time.
I reckon the Tigers will improve. They won't make the finals, but they'll improve. They'll improve to about 10th on the ladder, which is where I've got them.
Well, one that says second last, the other says as just on the cusp of the 8, but...
Or like Coruscant signing, Clemmer signing, Papali'i
how
signing...
many big signings have the Tigers had only to flop?
Bateman signing. I think they are building up to something here.
And how many of the signings do you reckon could end up flopping because of the quality of the spine?
Don't know. Get back to me on that mid-season.
Honestly, out of all of them, I honestly think if you had to rank of how successful they will be in a flopping Tiger side, Bateman will probably have the most luck, Papali'i second, and then Clemmer, Coruscant. It could easily be they all end up flopping together.
Maybe, who knows? And
on that note, that is full time for the NRL side of things here, but don't go anywhere. We're going to take a short break, and we'll be back with Super League Week 2 debrief. How will the champions go on their first game of the season back on their side of the world? Can Warrington back up their shellacking of the Leeds Rhinos? And can a leopard really change its spots? Apparently not. We'll be right back after these short messages.